Joy News Prime.
Tonight on Joy News Prime, battle lines drawn for showdown in Parliament this Thursday as majority MPs describe Ford gift motion mulled by the minority as an attempt to throw dirt at President John Mahama and vow to resist it. Bonded nurses seeking to be hired by the state once again picket to press home their demands, suggesting political interference is to blame for their plight. Millennium Development Authority strongly refutes series of claims by Public Utility Workers Union to justify the opposition to private sector participation in the Electricity Company of Ghana, asserting the contrary to PU's suggestions, tariffs will be hiked, cost of power is rather more likely to reduce.
And in business, government pays first tranche of $250 million out of the $4.4 billion energy sector debt owed 12 commercial banks in the country.
Also in the bulletin, there's been a shake-up in the police service which has affected some 90 police officers. We'll be telling you all about that. My name is Israel Lai. Joy News Prime is also available across Europe on ABN Television and on DSTV and GoTV. Stay tuned. The Coalition of Unemployed Bonded Nurses is suggesting political interference as the reason why the Ministry of Health is reluctant to post its members after completing their mandatory national service. Members of the group of nurses who were trained with state funds say several attempts to get the ministry to resolve their concerns have proven unsuccessful. The coalition on Wednesday staged yet another demonstration here in Accra to draw attention to their situation.
The group accused the ministry of rather concerning itself with recruiting unqualified persons to work in the various health facilities under the Youth Employment Program at their expense. According to the group, over 30,000 unqualified persons have been posted to various health facilities while its members, numbering about 82, remain at home. President of the coalition, Aka Blaise, said the group does not trust the ministry's claim of lack of funds, insisting the decision is purely a political one.
Seeing that this decision not to post us is a political decision. You tell us you don't have money to post us, but you have the money to post unqualified people. You recruit people under the youth employment who have not gone to any training.
The coalition noted since the Nurses and Midwifery Council's admission of an error on their part in omitting the list of nurses from the Family Health Nurses Training College during the processing stage 4 months ago, several petitions to the Health Ministry have remained unattended.
The ministry promised us that within 3 to 4 weeks they will do it for us. After a month we didn't hear anything, so we followed up to find out, and they told us they've now forwarded our list to Ministry of Finance for financial clearance for us. It's been 3 weeks after we went on the demonstration and we've still not heard anything from them. All our colleagues that we completed school with, that we finished our national service with, they were posted in June. They've even started working and are receiving their salaries as we are talking now.
Some aggrieved members of the group who picketed at the Health Ministry Wednesday say they're frustrated at the silence of the ministry and are demanding an immediate response.
Now we are all home, especially me. I'm not doing anything at home. I'll have to sit at home. My parents will go to work, they'll come back, and it's like they're expecting something from you since they took care of you to go to school for like 3 years. They spent all the family money on you, and they're expecting something from you. It's so worrying.
With their traveling bags and clothes, their nurses gathered at the Health Ministry demanding to meet the minister, but were informed neither the minister Alex Segbefia nor the public relations officer Tony Goodman were available.
The majority in Parliament is described as mischievous and an attempt to throw dirt at President Mahama, a motion by the minority seeking the House to set up a special parliamentary committee to investigate the President's actions regarding the Ford vehicle gift given him by a Burkinabe contractor. The minority wants the committee to ascertain whether the acceptance of the vehicle constitutes a breach of the country's constitution and the code of conduct. Parliament has been recalled to consider the motion spearheaded by the minority leader and backed by his side. But addressing the media ahead of the meeting on Thursday, Majority Leader Alban Bagbin said the move constitutes needless waste of scarce resources of the state and the precious time of MPs who are engaged in their constituencies.
We have convened this press conference to respond to current media discussions and certain erroneous and deliberately misleading impressions created by the MPP minority around the reasons for the recall of Parliament slated for tomorrow, the 1st of September 2016. As you may know, this recall of Parliament has been occasioned by the minority in Parliament invoking Article 112, Clause 3 of the 1992 Constitution and Standing Order 38(1) of the Standing Orders of Parliament. Ladies and gentlemen, we have only today, the 31st of August 2016, upon returning to Parliament, seen the motion submitted to the Right Honourable Speaker as the reason for the recall. We hereby share the contents of the motion with you. The motion is dated August 3rd, 2016, and reads as follows. This I'm quoting, that this Honourable House constitute a special parliamentary committee to investigate the following. A, whether the President of Ghana, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, received a Ford Expedition vehicle from a Burkinabe contractor. B, whether the Ford Expedition vehicle received by the President infringes any law of Ghana. C, whether the Ford Expedition vehicle donated to the President infringes his own code of conduct. D, any other matter relevant to the above subject, unquote. The motion is filed and signed by the Minority Leader, Honorable Osei Mensah Bonsu, for and on behalf of the Minority Caucus. We will definitely provide you copies of the motion. It is exceedingly strange, to say the least, that the Minority Leader had earlier claimed on Accra-based City FM that he was not aware of the recall of Parliament when he signed the motion that formed the basis for the recall. Ladies and gentlemen, as can be noted from the motion, contrary to the claims being made by members of the minority and their surrogates in the media, that this recall of Parliament is to impeach His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama.
The Majority Leader Alban Bagbin later told Joy News once the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice is investigating the matter, it will be wrong for Parliament to also go into it. According to him, the NDC majority is aware of the political ramifications if they block the motion and are ready to defend their action.
Well, unless as a country we just decide that we don't go by the rule of law, that anything goes, definitely we know that they will respond that, oh, they have something to hide. That's why we don't want it to be done. But when you look at the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice and Parliament, which is better placed, which is better resourced, which is better in terms of the human resources, okay, populated to be able to investigate such a matter. Apart from that, we are aware that the Commission has already investigated this matter very far. So what purpose will it serve for Parliament to be establishing, to use their word, a special committee to investigate the same matter. What would be the effect?
Would there be an attempt to arrest the motion if eventually the petitioner is allowed to move it?
We cannot. Once a motion is admitted by the Speaker, you cannot arrest it. You know it.
When the President is given the opportunity to move it on the floor?
Yes.
Like it happened during the Merchant Bank deal?
It was not an arrest. You know, in the Merchant Bank deal, what happened was that it was debated and there was a vote that was taken and the majority had its way. That was what happened.
Now, some 90 police officers have been reassigned by the Inspector General of Police, John Kudalo. This will be the IGP's fourth reassignment in just 10 months since he was appointed in 2015. In this latest shake-up, ACP Nuhu Al-Hassan Jango will now head the Wenchi Divisional Command. It was until the new assignment, Nima Divisional Police Commander. Superintendent Gladys Impre, who was head of the Osu District Command, has been moved to the Medina District Command. You can get the full list of the movements at myjoyonline.com. Meanwhile, the police administration says it has put several measures in place to throw up criminal police officers so they can be weeded out of the service. In the past few months, several police officers have been accused of one misconduct or the other. Though some people have accused the police of shielding its own, Superintendent Silvers Arthur, who speaks for the service, says more measures are being instituted to expose the bad nuts and prosecute them.
The police administration appreciates the fact that this is a human institution. And for that matter, we will have few bad nuts creeping through and joining and perpetrating this kind of acts that cause fear among the public, that raises concern. And so over time, we have purposively put measures in place to throw these characters up so that we can weed them out of the service. SPC, Inspection and Monitoring Unit, these are the programs that we have implemented over time. I mentioned Police Intelligence and Professional Standards Bureau. I've mentioned Image Cleansing Campaign, Naming and Shaming, CCTV surveillance cameras spearheaded by COP Rosebio Atinga, and what is invoked presently is the Public Confidence Reaffirmation Program. We appreciate the fact that our kind of job is a special one. We must live above reproach. Usually some of these things are perpetrated against members of the public. And the police has an avenue for people who suffer one act of injustice or the other to seek redress with the police, the PIPS issue. And people who come there will attest to the fact that when they come there, they get justice. Sometimes when investigation is done and the matter weighs against the police officer, depending on the magnitude of the offense, sometimes it will just be an act of professional misconduct. That one is dealt in-house. That is where service inquiry is conducted. The person gets sometimes dismissed, reduced in rank, which we call demotion, or removed. The removed is like dismissal. By dismissal, you are sacked and you don't get anything. You don't get any compensation. But removal, whether you have got 20 more years to serve or to get to the age of 60, at which time you are to retire, you are sacked, but you are given whatever you have accumulated.
In a related development, criminologist Professor Ken Atefa says the police administration's recruitment strategies are fraught with significant corruption impacting the kind of officers recruited. Professor Atefa believes the porous background checks of recruits makes the system difficult to clean up. He was speaking earlier on the polls.
If you peruse the Daily Graphic, which is probably the oldest national daily, you would find story after story of police officers engaged in diverse forms of criminality, from armed robbery through narcotic drug trafficking to human trafficking to you name it, the police have been involved. It must be stated that that is just a small proportion of police who engage in police deviance and criminality. But it is not surprising, and it is universal. Empirically, we know that in the last 2 weeks, we have had a chronology of very horrible crimes involving the police, and the public is justified in being angry and in demanding that action is taken. One crime by one police officer is one too many. Police recruitment strategies themselves are fraught with significant corruption, and we all know recent examples, at least stories about police corruption recruitment scams. I'm just sick and tired of always calling on the police to do the right thing when it comes to administrative justice. This is one of the areas where the police has traditionally fallen short of public expectations. Police involvement in criminality is as old as history. Police reports on the investigations that they conduct into crime by police is the reports are hardly seen. And you know, it undermines public confidence in the ability of the police to do an honest job of investigating police deviance and criminality. And so we have the Timbila case that you mentioned. In fairness, the measures that IGP Muhammad Al-Hassan instituted were measures post or after the Timbila story, you know, and I think that we saw a better process in the last or most recent recruitment drive. The recruitment has to involve, I mean, it has always involved ordinary citizens, the leaders in their communities making, giving recommendations.
You're watching Joy News Prime. Still to come in the bulletin, Millennium Development Authority strongly refused series of claims by Public Utility Workers Union to justify their position to private sector participation in the Electricity Company of Ghana, asserting that contrary to PU's suggestions tariffs will be hiked, cost of power is rather more likely to go down. Stay tuned, we'll be back with more. Now, the Millennium Development Authority has issued a strongly worded condemnation of PU's 3-hour daily demonstration against the private sector participation in ECG under the second compact of the Millennium Challenge Corporation of the USA and the government of Ghana. In the statement, MIDA, among other things, pointed out that contrary to PU's claim that high tariffs will result from the concession, the partnership would rather see a progressive lowering of tariffs. It also pointed out that the government of Ghana has gone to great extent to ensure that the jobs of all ECG workers are duly protected for at least a period of 5 years when the long-term concession arrangement takes off. PU has described the concession as a danger or threat to local content, but the statement said Ghanaian equity participation, which may commence at a determined minimum, will be required to increase over time so that Ghanaians are in increasing control of the company. Joining me over the telephone is National Secretary of the Senior Staff Union of PU, Patrick Tete Binyemi. Good evening to you, Patrick. Hello, Patrick. All right, apparently Patrick's line has dropped, but among some of the other things that MIDA stated in the statement that it put out, it says that the government of Ghana has made made clear its determination to ensure a high level of local content in the ECG PSP transaction. Local participation at both the operational and equity levels are integral to the tender. Ghanaian equity participation, which may commence at a determined minimum, will be required to increase over time so that Ghanaians are increasing control of the company, as stated earlier. Now, we have Patrick Binyemi back on the line. Good evening to you, Patrick.
Good evening, Israel.
All right.
Good evening to you.
Okay. Yes. So what's your reaction to this statement that the Millennium Development Authority has put out? Essentially, most of the issues you're raising have been discounted or have been taken care of by the concession or have been factored into the concession.
Thank you very much, Israel. And it's unfortunate MIDA is going this way.
Why do you say so?
Sorry?
Why do you say it's unfortunate MIDA is going this way?
Yeah, when you look at the press release today, the last paragraph, they indicated that they did a broader consultation. If they have done that, why do we have to be battling this issue back and forth? These things or these issues are things that we need to get to the table and discuss, dialogue, and find solutions to it. We are right-thinking members in society. If we are comfortable with whatever the content of the Compact 2.8, we wouldn't have been challenging some of the issues.
All right.
We have made our position clear to them.
Mr. Tete Binyemi, it's
Yes,
interesting that you're bringing this one up because at the time you set out to embark on the series of strikes, you were also engaged with the minister, the Deputy Minister for Power, weren't you?
Yes, we were.
And yet you went ahead to go ahead with your strikes, even though, as you said, you would rather, if negotiations were taking place, the negotiations will continue.
The ministry or the minister invited us. We didn't concretize any issue on our position over there.
But you were discussing.
We were discussing. Fine, let me give you an example. If we are still discussing or we are discussing, last week when MIDA heard that we were embarking on a 3-hour, 3-day demonstration, they wrote to management at the speed of light that they want to meet us, that was yesterday, to discuss the labor issues that we have mentioned. Yes, yesterday we were at the ministry and we didn't come out with any concrete decision on the issues that we have raised. And the issue we were asked to reschedule it to 8th of September. Why then should MIDA come out with this press release if we are still at the negotiating table? My brother, MIDA is wearing a mask, and we must remove the mask as Ghanaians to know who actually they are. These are issues. If you are saying that you have a broader stakeholder consultation, a right-thinking member in society will ask, if that has been well and effectively done, why should we be struggling with them to get us some information that is needed for us to come into an agreement?
Right, Mr. Binyemi Tete, I'd like to also find out from you. Let's just stick to the issues. One of the issues you're raising has to do with the job guarantee. Essentially, this statement says that your GCG staff will not be laid off for 5 years, or their jobs will be guaranteed for 5 years.
My brother, then let me ask you, if for 5 years, what happens after the 5 years?
It's interesting you bringing that up. Do you, in your current contract with government or with ECG, do you have any such guarantee that says that your job is guaranteed for the next year?
My job is guaranteed for the next 60 years if I don't steal or I don't do anything that will warrant my dismissal or termination of appointment.
Is this stated in writing?
You mean, is it stated in writing?
Yes.
In my appointment letter?
Yes.
Oh, my brother, you and I agree that if somebody is employed to business, the person has a working life of 60, and the contract I have with DCG tells me that, okay, I'll be assigned or I'll be on A, B, C, D until that day. You understand me?
You have a very interesting contract then, because here at Multimedia, my job is not guaranteed for the next year.
Why is it not guaranteed? That is why I have given you the conditions that I can say that, okay, my job will not be guaranteed if I should be involved in A, B, C, D. But as far as our contractual terms is concerned, it's guaranteed for that period of time if I don't involve myself in any vice.
All right.
You understand me? So what we are trying to say is that, fine, the government gave that moratorium of 5 years. What happens after 5 years? We have asked these questions on occasions, and nobody seemed to give us answers to it.
So would you
Since February, we have asked of MIDA of certain vital information. They have not been able to provide us those information. Then when they heard that we were going on a demonstration at the speed of light, they have to write that they want to meet us yesterday. We met, nothing came out of it, and then you came out with a press release. What are they trying to take us? They can't take Ghanaians for granted. They must come clear. And you know, one thing we are talking about here is that, look, we don't want to engage in a media war with them. No, we don't have that time at all. But when they push us to the wall, we will all get there, and then we'll see the outcome of it. No.
Mr. Binyami, will you continue the consultation process?
We are ready. We are citizens of Ghana. We are obedient to the law. If they want us to get to the negotiating table, we will get there. Then it means that we shouldn't be rushing to air, we shouldn't be rushing to the press and coming out with fallacies, things that they cannot substantiate. They are thinking of themselves. They are thinking of them. They are not thinking of Ghanaians. And these issues, we don't want posterity to come and judge us or tell us that why are we not talking about it? Ask them, call them, find out from them. From February that we met at PUC Hall, have they been able to even invite us to sit down and Jojo? They have not been able to do that. Yes, still they claim that they have done lots of stakeholder consultations, which is not true. If they have done that, my brother, can we be going back and forth on these issues? The labor issues that we have raised, have they been able to address it? Please,
all right.
They shouldn't be rushing to the media and be putting all these things over there. They should be pushing us to the wall. After all, how many of them are there? About 10 or 15, and they are trying to go well with 6,000 plus staff of UCG and others. Please, they should give us a break. Enough is enough, my brother.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Patrick Tete Binyami, who's National Secretary of the Public Utilities Workers Union, Senior Staff. You're watching Joy News Prime. We're taking a break. When we come back, we'll bring you business news. Right, you're watching Joy News Prime. Now, the flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party, Nana Akufo-Addo, has received a rousing welcome at Savalogo as he moves his campaign from the Mampuku area in the northern region. The residents of Savalogo massed up at the entrance to the metropolis to welcome him. He had earlier paid courtesy calls on the chiefs of Janga, Diana and Nashua. Each of the chiefs appealed to the flag bearer to harness the development potential in their area. In Nasia, the chief of Naba, Natongma Mahan I appealed to Nana Akufo-Addo to revamp irrigation systems in the area.
The State Road, Bungugu Road, secondly, Trick Hospital, and thirdly, poor state of the secondary schools in the district. I committed myself that if God favors me in December, all these things we're going to do to bring up Bungugu and the area here. We're going to build our country from the bottom up. That is why we're talking one country. That is why we're talking one village, one dam. We're building Ghana from the bottom up so that we can get everybody involved.
Some students of the veterinary college stormed the Savalogo Chief's Palace to appeal to Nana Akufo-Addo to restore the allowances and create jobs when he wins the December elections. Correspondent Martina Bugri, who is following the campaign trail, joins me over the telephone with more. Good evening to you, Martina.
Well,
all right. So where's the MPP flag bearer right now?
He arrived in the metropolis about some 30 minutes ago. I must say that it's been hectic getting through to the metropolis.
You mean he's in Tamale?
We arrived in Savalogo around 2 o'clock this afternoon, but he finally got into Tamale after 6 o'clock.
All right. And what more has he been promising?
Currently, he's gone at the Zegbeli School Park where he will be holding a rally, but he has to visit some chiefs. And then what he's been telling the chiefs in the area is that if they believe in his ideals, they should vote for him, because the NPP has never failed the people of Ghana. In the past, they promised and they delivered. And in communities, communities like Danga, Nasia, Diari, who are Mamprisi, they appeal to them that they should take Dr. Bawumia as their own. And then when he's in the Flagstaff House, he can actually fight their cause. And so in some of the communities, he also assured them that an MPP government will listen to them, will ensure that every community get their fair share of development in the area. He's currently at the Zegbeli School Park where he's addressing a rally.
And my name is Israel Lai. For more news, you can log on to myjoyonline.com. You have a good night.
This is Joy News Prime.